Hey everyone, it's Joe Carrell. I'm in Blackbird Studios today in Nashville, Tennessee. And if you know anything about the music business, this is one of the places to be. Beautiful facility. And today we are in Studio D, which has every microphone we'd ever want. Amazing outboard, amazing acoustics. But one of the big draws to this room is this guy right behind me, the API Legacy. 96 channels. It's fitted with the 550 3-band EQ, the 4-band EQ, the Graphic 560. It's just a wonderful piece of machinery. Now, what is so special about this piece of machinery? Well, if you know anything about API, they've been around since the late 60s and have really made their mark on recorded music and history. And most engineers find that it's one of their favorite pieces of gear. And the reason is, it's so musical, it's so punchy, it's so big sounding. But what separates it from some of its competitors, it's not just big sounding, but it's lean and focused and tight at the same time. So as our track counts build up, everything just starts holding hands and playing nicely. That's one of the best ways for me to describe the sound of an API console and that magic that they do. But why am I in Studio D today here? Well, it's because that our friends at Kit Plugins, who have a plethora of other great plugins that I've come to rely on, are launching a brand new plugin, the A5, that is based on this guy right here. So why don't we put it through its paces today and see what this thing is all about? On the upper left-hand corner, we have an input level, which is handy because sometimes tracks are really hot or really low, and if we need to drive into it or pull some signal out of it, we can just real easily. After that is where it starts getting really interesting. So right here, and one thing that I love about their plugins, the 105 and the 73, is the preamp modeling. And we have that right here on the upper left-hand corner. And I think what I'll do is I'm just going to give you a little taste of that right away. But I will tell you one very special thing about it to me is that it doesn't get louder, auto makeup gain. So we can hear the modeling that they did with the preamp distortion on the console in action without it getting louder and affecting our judgment. So I've got a kick drum soloed up, and let's just listen to that. That's fun, right? I love that. That's one of my favorite features of this plugin, as well as the 73 and the 105. Now, if you don't want quite that kind of saturation, we can also choose line right here, and it's modeling the line input. For example, if we're taking our output of Pro Tools, hitting the desk, and mixing on it, we're getting a little color, but not preamp type of color. So we can choose that instead. But this is a really powerful tool. Right below that, we have our pad button. Now that doesn't actually pad our listening volume. That pads the level prior to the preamp. So it's more of a gain structure type of thing, but nonetheless, it's a useful tool. Right below or right beside that, we have our phase reversal polarity switch. Now below that, to me, is a big deal because when I am in studios and I'm working with the real hardware, the high pass and low pass filter ability or lack thereof is a big deal to me because that's a big part of my workflow. So the guys at Kit put that right here. So now we have a fully sweepable variable high pass and low pass filter, which is just great. If you're a fan of this type of a circuit, you know that that's something you're always missing. So I'm just really excited that they put that in there. And then below that, we have our input VU meter. Now in the middle here is where we get to the EQ section. We all love those classic EQs. We're going to start right here with the 55A, which is the 3-band. Then we can switch to the 55L, which is the 4-band. Or we can do the 56L, which is the 10-band graphic. And all of them are unique, all of them are fun, all of them are amazing. So we'll kind of walk through all of them. And then after that, right here, if we want to bypass the EQ, but still leave our saturation settings just so we can compare it without bypassing the whole plugin, we can do that right here. Then we have our output fader, and this output fader, it serves a couple different purposes. It's not just simply turning it up or down, but is also, if we choose right here, this master bus setting, we get an extra layer of compression, saturation, distortion, right into full-on limiting if we drive into it. So this fader is more than just trimming it if we've added a lot of gain, for example, on our EQ. It is a powerful tool in and of itself. Okay, to the far right here, we have our analog hum section. Now that's one of those things where people are People are torn on it, right? Some of us love to have just a little analog noise in there, and some of us absolutely hate it. And they know that, so they gave us the really easy option. Boom, on for the lovers and off for the haters. I prefer usually to have it clean, but that's just me. We have 3 different levels of the saturation, and right here we can link them to where it's the same across all instances on the console. Okay, the master bus section, that's interesting. I hit it on a while ago. It's typically, for me personally, I don't use it on individual channel strips. I'm just getting my color right here. But if I'm going to use this on a bus or a group master for extra analog flavor, I'm going to turn that on. And again, I can drive into it if I want more of it, or pull back if I want less of it. But it's nonetheless an additional flavor step if we choose. And then right below that, we have our output VU meter. Okay, now for today's track. And it's a lot of fun, as we said. Let me give you a sample of the raw, just kind of the raw multi-tracks. We're going to have fun for these next 20 minutes, or 15, or 30, or whatever. That's a great song. Okay, so let's just pull up the kick drum as recorded, and we've got the A5 on it, and I'll put it in bypass, all right? Okay, great sound, but it could be better. It's a little tubby and needs a little definition. So let's do that. Now, what I would probably do with the kick drum when I hear it, I would probably switch to the 4-band. The reason is I want to add a little attack and also cut something. For example, if I have the 3-band here, I'm only going to boost or cut in the mids. But if I switch to the 4-band, the 55L, I'm going to be able to do both. Let's listen to that frequency boosted so we can see what we're going to get rid of. Not pretty, right? It's just a little full. We need it to be just a little leaner down there to make room for low end and other things. So let's do that real quick. That should be really good. One thing that you may not know about these circuits that's good to know is if you're switching, just a couple dB in or out, it's more of a wide shaped bell. But these are proportional. So for example, as you take out more or add more level, the curve is going like this. So it gets sharper and sharper, which is a big part of the sound of this circuit. It's one of the things we love so much. All right, now let's add just a little bit of low end as well. Let's go ahead and click on 50 cycles here. For the kick drum, let's add just a couple dB. That should be plenty. Now, one thing I want to point out, that on the original, by default, we have 2 dB steps. So we go from 2 to 4 to 6, whether we're boosting or cutting. One really cool thing they've given us here is we can activate or deactivate that, and we can make it, if we want to, what if the perfect number is 3 dB, right? Well, on the original, that was a problem, but it's not a problem anymore. But you can see right here, we can choose the traditional stepped mode if we want to, or we can disengage it and we have a fully sweepable, which to me is much better. I much prefer this. Now, let's add a little bit of attack as well. Let's go to about 3K and let's add just a little bit of snap. That should be a good number. Now, I have a sample in here as well that's adding me some attack, but let's pretend like we don't have the sample, okay? And let's go up to, maybe the 7K. Let's add just a little bit of air, a little bit of brightness to this kick drum, just based on the nature of the tune, okay? Very cool. Now, what I would do here is I'm going to take the EQ out, and let's just play with this preamp gain. What if this kick drum was recorded with even more of that gooey goodness from this transformer and op amp? Well, let's hear it. All right, perfect. So in and out with the EQ after it now. Nice. So let's do it before and after. Here's the kick drum as recorded. Here's a kick drum after. We have a little more saturation and a little EQ as well. One more time, back to back without me talking, okay? Nice, nice. Now let's go down to the snare drum. I'm just going to drag this over, and I'm going to hit factory default because we're not going to use any predetermined anything. That leads me to this little handy feature right here. Oh, who doesn't want that on every plug-in? I do. That's a big deal for me. So good job, guys at Kit, for giving us the ability to make it fit our screens the way we want to. Let's start with the 3-band here. Why not? This could be fun. And let's add a little bit of. I'm going to solo it up, and we're going to work on preamp gain first this time. Okay. That is so fun. So I'm gonna run it to about right here. You hear the attack difference? I'm gonna do that one more time, and I want you guys to focus on the attack. So I'm gonna bypass it, hear the snare drum in its raw form. I'm gonna do nothing but add a little preamp gain, and then I want you to hear the attack, and really kind of the edges around, probably around 3K up. There's a change in frequency response to the better for a snare drum. Here we go. That's cool. I don't care who you are. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the high pass filter up to around 80. Just clean up anything that's down there that's going to affect the tightness of the kick drum, the bass drum. That's what we're going to do. Again, I love the fact that we have those. Let's do some 3K. No, let's add some 5. Let's add some 5. Ready? And we'll boost it up a little bit. That sounds really, really good. So I'm going to keep that there, and now I'm going to add some air up at around 10K. Okay, so those two together, it's a little much. I'm going to go 2 and 2. Then let's go to 100 cycles, and let's add just a couple dB, all right? You hear the body, it just adds a little bit of girth. So what I want to do is I'm going to bypass it, let it play for a second, and you can, then I'll engage it, and you can hear the difference we've made, okay? We've added more snap. We've added more, just more of everything good. It's more exciting now. Let's hear that kick and the snare together. Okay, listen to it now. I'm going to take just a little bit of that gain out of the kick drum. Now let's bring in the overheads, but we'll solo them up, even though a lot of times when I'm actually mixing, I've got them together. Let's just kind of see what we can do here with that. And we'll do factory default. And let's bring up the 4-band. I just love that 4-band circuit. Here we go. Okay. I definitely want some more color out of that. So let's just keep it on mic, and let's gain it up and until we get just enough character, just enough. Let's call it nasty, because it fits this song. This song's got a kind of a funky, gritty edge, and this is going to help the drum kit kind of match that feel. Ooh, before and after. Here we go. That's doing a couple of exciting things. It's the roundness of driving the preamp, right? So we're hitting that op amp, we're hitting that transformer, we're getting a little more rounding of the snare drum and knocking that back into the mix just a little bit, but we're also getting some edge and grit to the cymbals as well as the backbeat that's really, really pleasant. So let's go ahead and just do the normal thing, and let's take about 80 dBs or 80 cycles rather out of the image, and now let's start EQing. I think I'm going to add just a touch of 3K. I'm going to pull that back a little bit though. That's just a touch for the attack. And now I'm going to add some air. We're going to go probably to 10K, maybe 12.5. Let's just hear them both. I like 10 for sure. Now let's, I'm kind of thinking 700, that we may duck a little of it, actually. Let's try that. Okay, now let's do a before and an after. Here we go. Love that. I'm probably going to back down the high frequency boost just a little bit. I know I'm getting carried away because it sounds so good, and I want you guys to hear how much different it sounds after going through the A5. So far, we've worked on the kick drum, the snare, and the overheads. So what I'm going to do with that magic keystroke is I'm going to bypass them, let a couple bars play, engage it, and we can hear how much difference we made in the drum kit with just 3 instances. Okay, here we go. We went from a great live recording, you know, ready for mix, to a very polished, very punchy, sparkly, everything good. All right. One thing I want to try. Um, I don't know if I want to use the stereo. Let's listen to the stereo rooms and then also this mono mic and see which one would just sound wonderful with some of that transformer distortion from the mic pre. Pretty cool, but it's already, I must have printed that with a lot of compression. So let's check out this other one. That guy, that could be fun. So let's bring up the A5 in a factory default setting, and I think I may want to switch to the 56L. This is really power up the graphic, guys. I know a lot of us we're so used to fully parametric, sweepable, equalizers, and for good reason. They're so functional and they're so fun and easy to use. But there is something magical about this 10-band graphic. It's a special tool, so don't overlook it. What we're going to do here, let's listen. And what I'm going to do is in real time, I'm going to dial in some mic pre-gain until we get some extra grit and harmonic. That's fun. That is a lot of fun. Let's take 250 out just a little. And I'll boost it first just so you can hear what frequency we're dealing with, okay? So what that's going to interfere, as when we put it with the close mic, that's going to interfere with the real kick drum. So we're going to dip that a little bit. Okay, now I want more of the aggression of the snare to pop through. So I'm probably going to boost a little. Let's do 2 and 4. Why not? Maybe just 4 now that I've heard it. And I'm going to use the high pass filter to get rid of everything under about 50 or so. Okay, now I don't want very much sparkle from this because I'm getting those from my overheads. So I'm going to remove some of that sparkle that we're getting because it's grungy sparkle. But I really only want that in the mids. So let's just dial the low pass back. That seems like a good spot. All right, so let's listen to that before and after. Okay, now it has a lot of attitude. So now let's listen to the overheads, kick and snare, and that we'll call it the mono mic, and bypass, and then I'll activate them and we'll see how much difference we've made in the kit. So sound of hits right there. That's a winner. I love that. I love that. All right, what I'd like to do next is I want to listen to the rhythm guitars that we have going. We have a left and a right stereo double track thing, and it's really, really cool. Let's check it out. But I feel like we can make them better, don't you? All right, so let's unbypass this. I'm thinking on this one that I don't really want a lot of extra grit, so I'm going to go to line level. So I'm not going to add transformer color to this, but I probably will just go ahead and just be safe and let's get rid of everything under. For what I was hearing right there, I don't need anything under about 100 cycles. It's just going to be in the way of other things. All right, so let's start dialing it in, and I think I'm going to go 4-band here, and let's find if there's something a little tubby that we don't like. That 500 there, I'm not in love with 500 on this guitar. Let's take that out, but just barely. Mostly, let's focus on the attack. Let's go up to 3K. That's kind of a good starting spot. I'll just explain the way I think about it. 3K on this circuit, the A5, to me is kind of like the aggressive, angry kind of shine. So it makes something cut through the mix in guitar world, but it cuts through the mix in a, you know, forget about it way, right? It's just a little mean, got a little bit of edge. Whereas the 5K and above, we get that polish that cuts through a mix, but it's a little prettier. Neither one is right, neither one is wrong. It just kind of depends on the song. So let's listen to them both, because this has some grit and some funk and some attitude, but it's also got a little polish and pretty. So one of those two will get the job done. Yeah, for this song, I think it's going to be 5K. So let's take it down just a little bit, and we're going to come in after that, because I'm going to boost that a good bit, but then I'm going to come after that with the high pass filter and some of the leftover airiness that will be in the electrics. I don't want, because that's going to interfere with overheads. It's going to interfere with his voice. So I'm going to use the low pass filter and get rid of everything, at least a 10K probably. Now let's copy that over, because that's a double guitar part, and let's hear before and after. More better. I love it. Let's listen to it on one more thing in this track. And there's a synth part that carries the verses that's it's not cutting through yet. And I'll show you. It's this one right here. It's just a little thick. So I would probably, if I was mixing this song today, I would probably bring up an A5 here, A5, and I would probably start right here with the 3-band. First of all, I'm going to make it bigger because you guys will want to see it better, and I'm going to take out some dirt, some mud rather, down on the bottom end. But I am going to experiment with distortion. I think part of our secret to getting this track to cut through and be audible is going to be distortion, a little extra layer of distortion. Here we go. That's probably too much, right? But let's just back that down. So that's one of the secrets of analog gear to me. Go to overdrive and then back it down just a little bit. And a lot of times that's like the perfect amount. So let's hear it before and after with just distortion. Now listen to the attack every time they strike a note. That grunge is going to help it be heard. On top of that, though, we can come in with a little bit of probably, let's say 4K, and maybe 2, but we're just going to give it a go. Maybe I want 6. Okay, now that I've heard it, I'm going to back up and change my mind, because every mix is an adventure, right? You don't always know what you're going to do. So I'm going to do a little cut and a little boost. So let's start somewhere around 3K, and we're going to boost. Perfect. Since I went with the guitars at 5K, I can come down on this synth pass and go to 3K, and we don't have fights. A lot of times that's the way I think about mixing is layering things in ways where they have their own stage, right? They have their own spot in the mix. But we also need to get rid of a little bit of mud. So let's go down around 700, 500 and just kind of see what we want to get rid of. I think it's all the way down there around 240 actually. Let's cut that back just a little bit. Now I'm going to dial the low pass into probably around 13K, 12K, somewhere. Just some of that extra stuff that is going to interfere with Caleb's great voice. Perfect. Now let's hear a before and after. Now let's drop that into the whole mix and see if it's just a little more audible. Yeah, I can hear, even with my snare drum that's way too loud from my processing, now I can still hear that part. So that's just the effectiveness of the A series circuit to me is getting things to pop without interfering with other things. The takeaway for me is the excitement of being here in Nashville and knowing this room and how revered and respected this console is that now I have that in the box at my house, on my laptop, anywhere I want to go. It's not just, it isn't just the EQ modules. It's the combination of the EQ modules with the preamp, with the high pass, low pass filters, with that master bus option. All those things together make this a very special tool that will definitely find a place in my mixing, and I bet they will find a place in yours too if you grab that free demo and fall in love with it just like I did. Get the demo, check it out. All right, happy mixing, guys.